All right, guys. So now that we have our doves, I'm going to show you how I like to clean them and what I plan on making with them. So these doves, I shot them yesterday and I set them in the fridge overnight in just a couple grocery sacks. And what that does is it makes them easier to clean. They're so small. They don't have their rigor mortis time is way less than like a deer, but it's still like birds in general. I like to set them in the refrigerator if I can, just a day, just to let them sit, and it just becomes easier to clean them. So I'll show you what I do with these doves and how I clean them. Right here at the top, you can feel that breastbone. Pull back a few feathers. Look right there. Basically, at the start of that breastbone, comes up, and it's got a large sternum. Stick your thumb in there behind it and pull like this, and it separates. That's the rest of the dove. This is the breast with the wings attached. And what I'll do then is I'll come in here and I'll skin these feathers back, clean it up, and then I'll come in with some tin snips and I'll just snip the wings off. One wing, second wing. And then after that, I'll just clean these feathers up real good. And I like to smell them too when I'm cleaning them, just because sometimes, especially if you're sitting out there for a long period of time and you don't have a cooler and you're putting them in your bucket, it takes a decent amount of time and pretty good bit of heat to turn them bad. But it's always a good idea. Just smell them, and if they smell not right, I wouldn't recommend eating them because they could be spoiled. These doves are so small, they cool down and get hot really quick. So that's always something to just be mindful of in the field, how long you've been out there and how long the doves have been dead sitting in your bucket. Keeping them in the shade helps a lot. And you have a nice finished product dove breast, and I'll clean this up a little bit more in the kitchen. And what I plan on doing with these, one of my favorite recipes is smoked Asian barbecue dove breast, and it's a recipe by Hank Shaw. And everybody loves to eat poppers. And growing up, we used to fry doves a lot, just whole breasts like this. And that was great. And poppers are great. But this smoked dove breast is it's definitely in one of my top five. If I had to choose the last meal, it would be in the top five. It may be number one. That barbecue sauce and smoking these doves is the best way I like to eat doves. Like I said, it's hard to mess a dove up. They're good. I've had them a bunch of different ways, but that smoked dove and that Asian barbecue sauce is one of the best recipes I've ever tried for doves, and I love them. So once again, just pull back a few feathers, give you a reference. See that breast, getting that hole right there. Use this thumb to pull against, get the guts out, and they separate just like that. That's the whole bird. That's the breast on the wings. Now I come in here, tin snips, scissors, whatever. These are so delicate. One wing, two wing. And then you're left with a very nice breast, and I'll clean this up. And for this recipe, I don't really like leaving the skin on, so I don't pluck them. I just like the breast on its own because I'm not really getting it hot enough to make that skin crispy. So I just rather not have the skin, but there you go. You have another pretty pretty nice looking breast, and this is perfect. It's gonna be great on the smoker. Again, you got your breast with wings attached. So 10 snips, bam, get that breast cleaned up, and I'll go in and I'll clean these up better in the kitchen, get them washed up, cleaned up. I try not to put water on my meat if possible, but with these doves, the feathers are so sticky, it's about impossible to get all the feathers off without giving them a quick rinse. And because I give them a quick rinse, what I'll do after that is I'll get a paper towel and I'll pat them dry and make sure it's a nice, clean, dry surface. And that helps a lot with the cooking process. One of the number one mistakes I think that people make with their wild game meat and even domestic meat is putting water on it. And I know a lot of people soak their deer meat, soak their wild game. I don't ever do that. The only time I ever use water on meat usually is if it's a gut shot or a situation like this where I need to rinse these feathers off because they're too sticky. It's really hard, and the reason being, if you get that meat waterlogged, it's really hard to get good sears on it. If you're grilling a steak or a backstrap or something, the more moisture on that meat and in the meat, it's more so when you cook it, it's going to boil more than it will whatever you're trying to do to it, whether that be searing it, grilling it, whatever. So I try to keep everything dry as possible. And like I said, if your knife's clean and everything you're working with is clean, there's really no risk there as far as not washing off your meat. And you can see that dove right there has been chowing down on the sunflowers, just crop full of them. So it's always kind of neat to see what they're feeding on. So I shot them in a sunflower field, so it makes sense. I don't know what it is about a dove breast, but that just looks so nice when you get done. It just looks like the best meat you could ask for. Sometimes, depending on where the doves are shot, this could take a little more or less effort. Shoulders and stuff are shot up kind of bad. That breastbone might be broken into pieces, and you just have to be careful pulling it apart because you don't want it to just break apart, because then you're left with a breast that's got a bunch of bone shattered fragments on the backside. Normally it works pretty good, but this is definitely one of my favorite game meats by far. I love doves, and I really think, like I said, poppers are great, but this meat can be so much more than a popper. But you can't go wrong with a popper. Like I said, I'll eat them every day of the week if somebody put them in front of me. By far, my favorite time of year. It's the kickoff for hunting season and football. Today is Sunday. We shot these doves Saturday, so we got Sunday football about to kick off here in a minute. And the weather's starting to cool down just a little bit. It's still hot here, but it's so much better than it was. It's been a pretty mild summer, honestly, compared to what it can be. So it's just, when you wake up and it's 61, 62 degrees in the morning, it gets you excited for what's ahead. If you haven't tried it either, put a little flour and a little cornmeal on these breasts and drop them in the deep fryer and try them like that. They're really good like that. I can remember when I was small, me and my dad, we would go dove hunting. My granddaddy, he had a big fryer. We'd always go to their house for fish fries, and we would always fry doves over there. And I think that's the only way I ate them until I went to college. And I feel like poppers became more popular, but those fried doves are hard to beat too. But depends on what you're in the mood for. My dog's over there just staring at me, trying to figure out what I'm up to. I wish duck's breast would do this, but I've tried it. It doesn't work. But I really like to keep the legs on waterfowl if they got some good fat on them. Sometimes if you're in a hurry, it'd just be kind of convenient to pull that breast out whole while keeping it on the bone. Because I'm making 0 knife cuts here. I don't even have a knife over here. And that is a wrap. That is the final breast. Clean 15 doves, and like I said, I'm gonna go get these prepared and I'm gonna go put them on the smoker, and we'll let you know how they turn out. What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be making my favorite way to eat doves. This is a recipe by Hank Shaw, and it's a barbecued Asian dove recipe, and I'll put the link in the bio, and I'm just gonna go through how I like to make them. This is my favorite way. So first thing you need to do is you have your doves that you killed. You want to salt those really well. So there's no measurement, just get the salt out and just sprinkle it on them. Get the outside good, and then flip them over and salt the inside as well. And you can really just rub it, a lot of this excess. And then just sprinkle a little on the inside also to be good. Alright, so now that we got the doves salted, I've already grated some fresh ginger. And it's around 2 teaspoons is what the recipe calls for, but I like ginger a lot, and I don't really like to measure, so I just did however much ginger I wanted. So what I'll do is I'll add that to our blender bottle, and all this is going to get blended to make it smooth as can be. So go ahead and add that ginger, and then we're going to have 3 tablespoons of garlic, which I don't really think you can have too much garlic either, so I might go a little heavier. So we got our garlic there, and then we need 3 tablespoons of sesame seed oil. So move that out. If I make a little extra, that'll be fine too. And then we're going to need half a cup of rice vinegar. And I might go ahead and do 3/4 of a cup just to make a little extra sauce, because the recipe calls for 16 to 20 doves, and I've got 22, so might need just a little extra sauce. And then we're going to go 3 tablespoons of fish sauce. Need half a cup of brown sugar, and then I'm going to go almost half a cup on the Korean chili sauce. This is really what gives it that unique, different flavor. There we are with that. So that is all the sauce ingredients. So now I'm going to blend it up, make it smooth. So now we've got our sauce. I'm going to put this into a bowl, to make it easier to brush the doves, and it smells just like you want it to. So now that we've got our sauce, we'll bring it over here, turn the doves back to the breast side, and get your tool to put the sauce on, and just lather on that sauce on those doves. And you really can't have too much. And while you're cooking it, every 30 minutes, you're gonna brush the sauce on them again, because a lot of it will start to either drip off or start to lock in and smoke on the top. And I've also got my smoker preset to 200. You want to smoke these on 200, and you don't have to have a smoker. You can do this with a pellet grill, anything that you can get to 200 degrees. And I'm sure it'd be pretty good in the oven also. If you had to cook them in the oven, I don't think it would be a detriment to the dove. I think it would still turn out pretty good. So now that we've got them nice and coated, we're gonna head outside and put them on the smoker. All right, now that we got our smoker, so now that I got the doves out here, I got my smoker preset to 200, and I'm using pecan bricks. I like pecan the best, that's my favorite, but you can use anything you like. So what I'll do is I'll bring these trays out, and we're just gonna layer the doves on there, breast side up. Just give yourself enough space to where air can get around them. And if you're doing this on a grill, it's the same process. These are gonna turn out really good. It adds a lot of good smoky flavor, and it goes well with that barbecue sauce that we made. Close that up. Every 30 minutes, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna brush them with the same sauce and keep them sauced up. All right, now it's been 30 minutes. We're gonna brush these up. So just get your sauce and just brush it all over top. Just coat them real good. All right, and then put them back in and do another 30 minutes, and we'll come back and do the same thing. So it's been an hour and 30 minutes, and the doves look like they're ready. So we're gonna get them off the smoker and onto the plate. These are looking really good. All right, let's take them inside and get to chowing down. So there you have it. We have our doves, and we made some sauteed corn and sauteed broccoli, and we even have enough barbecue sauce left over. And this stuff is good. If you like this flavor, it's good on all kinds of stuff, so it's good to have. So I'll throw this in the refrigerator and use it on something else.
Looks delicious.
All right, now I'm gonna get your first bite. All right, Ben, this is your first time trying this recipe. Tell me your thoughts.
I'm pretty dang good right there, boy.
Is it better than a popper, or do you like poppers better? Be honest.
Depends on the day, but this is good.
There you go. There you have it, folks. The smoked Asian barbecue doves. All right, guys. That is the way I like to clean doves, and that's my favorite recipe for cooking them. If you think it looks like a good recipe, give it a try, see what you think. And also share in the comments with me what's your favorite recipe, and I might try to cook that next time. And I'd love to get people's recipes on what they like to do with their doves. So I appreciate y'all watching, and y'all have a good one.